making remarks tonight from his home in Florida. As far as we can tell, and what we were prepared for here is that this is basically a campaign speech in which he is repeating his same lies and allegations against his perceived enemies. It is just getting started. So far, he's just giving his normal list of grievances. We don't consider that necessarily newsworthy, and there's a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. So our deal with you is that we will monitor these remarks. If he does say anything newsworthy, we will turn them around and report on that right away. But for now, just know that it's happening and we're not taking it.
It means that instead of the vaccine being able, it means instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person to person, spreading and spreading, sickening some of them, but not all of them. And the ones that it doesn't sicken don't know they have it. And then they give it to even more people because they didn't recognize they were, right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug-resistant along the way. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, on our planet, around the world, everywhere. Welcome back to Canada's gift to the world, the Angry Canadian, coming to you on the 13th day of April 2023. And I started this out with Rachel Maddow. Now you think about it. She's being paid $30 million a year to tell fake news, disinformation, to send out propaganda and indoctrinate people. And it's not unique. It's happening all across the networks, and it's happening with politicians of the old type. And it will happen until people rise up. Holy shit, did you see the demonstrations in France today? It got bad.
What we're looking at now is protests. It's part of a nationwide day of protests in France against pension plans. So scenes a bit like this, massive in Paris. We are expecting there to be other outbreaks of civil unrest in other parts of the country as well. And for those people who are listening on radio, I'm going to describe the scene now. There appears to be plenty of people in the crowd wearing protective gear themselves, as well, of course, as the riot police. And there's a bit of a charge taking place at the moment. People may remember on this very show last week, scenes similar to this. And what happened very quickly, and this is why we're going to be keeping a close eye on it, is that as soon as scenes like this happened, the French riot police got involved. There was tear gas, what looked to be tear gas anyway. There were things like smoke grenades. They also seemed a bit perfectly happy to use the batons. And the protesters themselves were setting fire to shop fronts and causing a whole load of damage. I'm not sure if we've got any sound on this clip at all at the minute. If we do, at some point, we might be able to just hear what it sounds like. Yeah, there we go. So we could just turn that up a bit and just maybe just get a flavour of what the atmosphere's like there. OK, so yeah, rather a lot of chanting. And there we go. Smoke grenade being deployed. So there's a bank of French riot police there holding a line in the middle of a street in Paris, and they have organised pretty quickly. They ran from one end of that street over to the other, and the crowd is really jeering, and it looks to me as though we're seeing a new wave of police, all with white helmets on and what would appear to me anyway to be bulletproof, stab-proof vest. Now, these police are being pushed back now by the crowd, who are starting to throw objects at them, little projectiles. Looks as though there are bottles being thrown. I'm just going to give a warning now to everyone that, of course, we don't know what we're about to see. Could well end up being quite a disturbing scene there, so bear that in mind as I look at one individual who looks like just a normal member of the public there, being led away with blood on his face, surrounded by French paramedics.
So I support protesters 100% now. You know, if it gets unruly, that's not a protest. That's something different. But I have more understanding of people's pain and hurt than somebody sitting in an ivory tower. I know that when people feel desperate, they will go to desperate means. And we've seen that. It's just, human nature. If you don't have money for rent and you don't have money for food and you got a family, you're going to go, you're going to do whatever it takes. And that's where the protesters come in. Voting doesn't always work. It didn't work in Canada. I've been saying that for decades. You get a conservative in, he's in until he's really despised and kicked to the road. And then you get a liberal in for a couple of terms until they're despised and kicked to the road. And back come the conservatives, a friggin' revolving door. And I'm not going to include NDP in anything because they're really useless with Jagmeet Singh. I wish the NDP would get wiped out. But that's in Canada. Voting isn't going to change anything. And sadly, when the truckers started their convoy, we got ourselves a convoy. Truckers convoy across Canada. Holy crap on toast. I was so proud watching the Canadians in January out coast to coast waving the Canadian flag, lining bridges. What a sight. What a thing to live through. So when the truckers got to Ottawa, they blocked roads. Yes, they lined up their big rigs and many of them blared their horns trying to get attention because the government totally ignored. The government of Canada ignored its own citizens. They put their friggin' nose into China's human rights, into India. The farmers in India are protesting and the government isn't supporting it, or he sticks his nose into all other people's business. But in Canada, it was a disgrace and still is. And he was let off the hook so far. Now, the other thing I got to say is that the banks at that time were given unbelievable power over people, over your account, not the government. They didn't even need a warrant. If they suspected something, and by they I mean the bank, they could take action to shut down your account, restrict access to your money in the bank. The reason I bring this up finally on this is that, don't forget, we have central bank digital currency is on its way in the Western nations. And don't forget, he who rules or has the money will rule the people. If they can shut your access to money off any time, that's not we don't have democracy now. We need a populist leader like Italy has.
La frontera de nuestras naciones y de Europa están siendo atacadas bajo una presión impactante de la retórica inmigracionista de la izquierda, alimentando una vergonzosa trata de seres humanos para llenarnos con nuevas personas desesperadas, que en demasiadas ocasiones acaban alimentando la delincuencia o compartiendo migas de pan con nuestros pobres en las afueras de las grandes ciudades metropolitanas. Nuestra historia está siendo atacada, censurada por la cultura de la cancelación de la izquierda, que todo olvidan y todo destruyen. Por supuesto, la historia de Europa y Occidente está llena de acontecimientos complejos y trágicos, pero esta historia ha conformado las democracias que conocemos hoy, y la solución no es suprimirla, sino hacer que la memoria histórica sea una lección. Quiero seguir debatiendo con vosotros, amigos hermanos españoles, sobre Cristóbal Colón, pero no aceptaré que sus estatuas sean eliminadas porque algunos bárbaros de Black Lives Matter la vean como un esclavista peligroso. En Europa las estatuas no se tumban, Las estatuas la tumban los talibanos. Nuestra libertad de expresión está siendo atacada, censurada cada día en la vida real, en los medios de comunicación, en las redes sociales, por la dictadura del políticamente correcto en manos de los oligarcas de Silicon Valley, que con sus multimillonarios estados digitales imponen sus normas a todo el mundo, privando a las personas de su riqueza y su soberanía. Y no sé si un día podrán impedirnos manifestarnos en sus plataformas, pero lo que sé es que nunca nos impedirán pensar con nuestra cabeza y decir lo que creemos. ¡Nunca! La patria está siendo atacada, el valor más alto que nos mantiene a todos unidos, ya que se trata de comunidades, fronteras, historia e identidad. Una patria que queremos salvar de la deriva del modelo globalista, líquido y estandarizado, pero también del secesionismo interno, que está financiado por la gran especulación financiera, que debe descomponer los estados para hacerlos débiles y derribarlos. A nosotros como a vosotros nos gusta creer en una nación, una gente, una lengua y una bandera. Y como italiana le pido disculpas por el doloroso comportamiento de Italia en el caso de la detención de Puigdemont en Cerdeña. No quiero entrar Bueno, no quiero entrar en el fondo del asunto, pero una cosa debo decir. Italia y España son amigos. España es un país democrático. Si España solicita poder juzgar a un acusado según su código penal, nadie tiene derecho a impedirlo. Toda nuestra identidad está atacada. Pero nosotros no lo permitiremos. Yo soy Giorgia, soy una mujer, soy una madre, soy italiana, soy cristiana. No me lo pueden quitar. No me lo van a quitar.
We don't have any politician in Canada, I don't care what side, who would dare say the things she said, even though I guarantee you a huge percentage of Canadians, possibly a majority, feel that way. You know, they think about immigration, they think about other clean energy, and how can we afford it? Canada's in the northern hemisphere. It's not going to work, but they want to have all the internal combustion cars off the road, all electric, or now they're talking about hydrogen. That's another brainy idea. You know, we got the experts looking into all of this, and they have come to the conclusion that climate change is man-made and we must stop it. Right now, stop, I tell you. There's so many issues. Farming. Eat bugs. I'd like to tell Trudeau what to eat, and it wouldn't be bugs. Eat my, you know what? They want you to eat bugs. Fake meat. It's all over. And surveillance every step of the way. And in the meantime, what does Canada need?
It's simple to me. Canada needs more people. Canadians understand the need to continue to grow our population if we're going to meet the needs of the labor force, if we're going to rebalance a worrying demographic trend, and if we're going to continue to reunite families and to do right by the world and make good on our commitments to support some of the world's most vulnerable economy. You need to walk down Main Street of any community in Canada, you're going to see help wanted signs in the window. This is the economic context that we're living through right now. This year's immigration levels plan will help address some of these challenges that I've outlined by setting a new target from 431,000 this year to 465,000 next year, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in the year 2025. This coming year, we're going to deploy new selection tools to better target sectors that have the highest need for labor in consultation with experts and provincial and territorial partners. We can't afford to keep bringing doctors here who aren't able to work as doctors. We can't afford to bring skilled tradespeople here who aren't working as skilled tradespeople.
I suppose the only thing that I dislike as much as politicians is our useless media. Ask him reuniting families. That's a very noble thing. Do you realize that presently there's more than 10,000 immigrants coming to Canada? More than 10,000 every single day. Every day. Is Canada prepared to have them? How's our housing situation? Not just buying, but renting. How's our health care? Where you live, are the hospitals open? Do you have doctors? Because if you come to the Okanagan, you won't have a family doctor till who knows when. And in Merritt, they got the emergency area of the hospital shut down on weekends because short of staffing. Well, what we need to do is bring in more doctors from abroad. But then there's another caveat with that. You bring in doctors, maybe who, say India, you go through university education in the medical field, and as soon as you got your degree and license, you hightail it out of there and come to Canada. So you used India's education to get it, but you're not going to pay it back. You come to Canada because the wages are higher. But then you're going to find out that, first of all, when you get here, you might have to work in some shithole little town where you're the only or maybe one of a couple doctors working steady. And it's not the kind of life you've been accustomed to. And by that I mean it could be somewhere cold, full of mosquitoes. There could be, less of a community for you. All kinds of different issues pop up. And then we could still look at high-tech industries, construction. Basically what we're about is draining the educated workforce out of countries where life conditions are lower than here. And people want to come here and make the money and live the Western life, which is fast disintegrating. It's a big cluster bomb, but we got politicians not saying the truth. We got media selling propaganda, and we lack knowledge. We lack people who want to know because we're so comfortable. Damn it. So comfortable in our lives right now. But that is going to change a lot very quickly. So I got two more things I want to bring up. One is that they caught the mad leaker in Washington.
The Pentagon leak has turned into a Pandora's box. Day after day, new details are emerging, one more damning than the other. The big question now is, who is behind these leaks? Now, let me emphasize on this. We might have a lead here. As per a Washington Post report, the person behind a massive leak of classified US military documents reportedly worked on a military base. The report, which WION cannot independently verify, claims that the man posted sensitive national security secrets on Discord, which is a social media platform popular with video gamers.
It has been revealed that relating to this leak of documents, classified documents, it has been revealed that it is the source of the leak was a 21-year-old member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard by the name of Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, who is the source of the leak of what can only be described as a trove of classified documents. And the more we find out about this leak, the more extraordinary it becomes. President Biden, as you can see there, is about to address the Irish Parliament. He appeared to suggest earlier in Dublin that the US government was close to identifying the leaker. Well, they have now done that. I think we can have a very quick word.
Well, that didn't take all that long to capture the leaker. You sprung a leak. For me, the bigger question about it, I know that there's a lot of information that embarrasses the United States for spying on their friends and all this kind of stuff. But for me, the question is, how are they going to deal with this guy? There have always been people that just can't stand to see what's happening and leaked information. Chelsea Manning was one of them. Edward Snowden. There have been all kinds of leaks that have come out, and it's not about, oh, it's a code for the nuclear weapons, oh, it's this or that. It's something embarrassing. The government can't stand to be embarrassed. And I'm not going to say rightfully so, but I can understand that, you're in a big power push and you think, I'm invincible, and then some useless eater comes out of the woodwork to soil your reputation, maybe end your career. That pisses you off. So if you have the power, you're gonna punish them. You're gonna punish them real good and hard. But I think most of the Western leaders think of their population as that now. I mean, you wouldn't have the shit going on in Netherlands with the farmers or everywhere. You wouldn't have this shit going on. Trudeau saying that we're going to support Ukraine. So what happens if Russia wins, which it's gonna? What happens if China brings peace? You just don't put your foot in your mouth, you idiot. Now, I got one more thing in this video that is bound to ruin your day. Modern education in Europe.
On Outsiders on the weekend, we showed you some disturbing content from Holland of a Dutch TV show where transgender individuals stripped down in front of children, in case you missed it.
Gewoon bloot, in gewoon bloot gaan volwassen mensen geheel uit de kleren, zodat wij er wat van kunnen leren. Deze kinderen uit groep 7 en 8 mogen aan hen alles vragen over hun blote lichaam. En vandaag hebben we als gasten transgenders. Het gaat echt om het gevoel wat je van binnen hebt.
Ja, en dat...
Nadat je een operatie hebt gehad. Anne-Chris, hoe voelde dat?
Ken je het woord euforisch?
Nee.
Oké, dat is echt heel blij.
And the UK's Channel 4 also seems to think kids should be exposed to naked adults. Why?
As teenagers, you're always thinking, I'm so fat.
There have definitely been times that I've looked in the mirror and hated what I see.
This is a baby step to becoming more accepting of who you are.
Being naked is not a bad thing at all.
0, please. Indicate!
I think it's time that we see what real male bodies look like. Whoa, naked men.
Do you know what? Your happiness shouldn't be reliant on whether you have this perfect shape.
A groundbreaking new series, Naked Education.
Okay, here in Canada, we got drag queen story time in schools and libraries. In Ontario, there's a teacher, or was, I'm not sure what the status is now. You could see a lot of it on Gutfeld. But he has big, huge boobs. Not real. And he wears them to school. It's a male teacher. I'm sure pretty well everyone has seen the pictures. Our world is bat-ass crazy. And it's going worse. It's not improving. At least that's the way I see it. Now, thank you for watching. If you liked it, please give it a like. And see you next time.